Hey guys, this is the recording tutorial for the painted flower project. First thing you're going to do when you start this off is you're going to go to unsplash.com and find a picture of a flower. Now you can put in a specific type of flower if you want. You can put in a rose, you can put a peony, a sunflower, a daisy, anything like that. But I just put in the general term flower, and it's going to bring up a bunch of different types of flowers. The one I went with is this pretty simple classic rose that I've already downloaded, but I wanted to leave this screen up so that I can show you ones like this that have a bunch of tiny flowers in them. While that will look amazing, I just want to give you a heads up that that will take a very long time. So unless you want to put into forth that type of effort, I would suggest finding something with only one single flower in it. Additionally, any flowers that have a ton of petals, like this peony here, again, that's going to take a little bit of time. Not as long as a bunch of small flowers together, but it will take a little bit of time. It will look amazing when you're done, though. The more complex the flower, the more beautiful the piece is going to be. But just for purposes of today of doing the recording, I picked a simple rose, and I brought it up into Photoshop already. First thing we're going to want to do is we're going to remove this black background, and that's important, but I will explain why later. To start, I'm going to duplicate my background, and then I'm going to use my object selection tool. So if you see, if I go to my object selection tool on the outside, it does a great job of making my selection for me. So if I went to just my flower, it would just do this part of the flower. And if I clicked on that, then it also would have to use my quick selection tool, which is hiding underneath my object selection tool. And I would have to add more to it to get the stem and everything else. Instead of doing that, I'm just going to select my background, which is what I want anyways. So I'm going to go back to my object selection tool, going to select my background. If there is any congruencies like you see here, because it's picking up the dark parts of the flower, that's when you're going to have to go back through with your quick selection tool. Make sure you are on the positive add, or the negative, actually, I'm sorry. You want to be on the negative because we want to remove this part from the selection. And you're going to go through and make sure that those parts are no longer selected. Okay. Now that I have all of that nicely selected, I'm going to make sure that my background color is white. I want to have white for now, just so you guys are aware. Oh, I missed a spot. Let me see. As long as white is in my background, I'm going to hit Command Delete and then Command D to deselect. I can even turn off my background now. I don't need that any longer. Right now, all I need is this layer 1. I have a nice selection of my rose. Next, we're going to start with an outline of this painting, but the biggest thing that I have seen done wrong with this project in the past is that students will paint directly on top of their picture of their flower. No, we are doing all of our painting on its own separate layer. So when you are doing your painting and you're outlining and you're coloring inside, do not use your printed picture, okay? All right, we're also going to be using a different type of brush. So I'm on my brush tool now, but if you right click or by holding Control on your keyboard, you can right click. We're going to go down to the mixer brush tool right here. Up here, I want to make sure for my outline that I am on a hard round brush, and I want to make sure that my wet, load, mix, and flow are all maxed out to 100. The other very important thing is to have sample all layers right here selected. If that's not selected, this project will not work. This is probably the most important step in the entire project. All right, now I'm going to zoom in to specific sections of my flower, and I'm going to adjust my brush size by using the brackets. And I'm going to carefully outline. And when I outline, I'm not going to go outside of my flower or it's going to pick up this white. I'll show you what happens if I do. So if I start clicking and go outside to my white and I come back in, do you see how it picked up the white spot? I want to stay inside my flower petal. My suggestion is also to click and unclick many times. That way, if you make a mistake, say you get all the way down here and then you accidentally go like that. If you back up one step, you're going to have to go all the way back from this step. So if you click and unclick multiple times while you are doing your outline, If you make a mistake, you don't have to go back that far. You are going to want to make sure that you outline all specific sections, even like this little curl that's in here. You want to make sure that you get that in there. I don't need to worry so much about the little veins that are in here, but like this part right here has a different color section. So I want to make sure that I draw that line right there coming down. And then this is in its own section by itself. To check your work, if you come over to your layer that you're painting on and you click on the layer below it, the visibility, and turn it off, you're going to be able to see what you have done. And there I can see that I missed that small little spot right there. So I have to go back and connect that. So that's a way of checking your progress. Now, for purposes of this demo, I've already outlined this entire flower just so that we can save time. So if I go to this one, I'm going to go Command minus to bring it up to focus. I'm going to turn off visibility of my flower underneath, and you can see that I have the entire outline of my flower already done. Turn the visibility back on. Now I can start painting the inside part of my flower. Before we do that, though, we need to change some of the settings on our wet mixer brush. We're going to keep everything the same up here, especially sample all layers. But under actual brush settings, which is right here, if you do not see it, you're going to go to Window and make sure that brush settings is selected. On my brush tip shape, we want to make sure that we are on a different type of brush. And I'm going to come back up here because it's easier to see. For this one, I am going to make sure that I am on a soft, round, pressure size brush. Then I can come over and do my settings here. The first thing I want to make sure that is on is my shape dynamics is down. For spacing is down. I don't want it to be all the way up. If it's still that way from when we were creating stars in our galaxy, it'll be in the 400 range. You want to make sure your spacing is all the way down to 1 or 0. I don't even think it goes to 0. Shape dynamics does not have to be, oh, it does have to be clicked. I'm sorry. Yes, you want shape dynamics clicked. And then over here where it says transfer, I want to make sure that that is clicked as well. And that under control right here, it says pen pressure. Once all of that is set up, I can minimize that. I can increase my brush size, and I'm going to start painting inside of my flower. I'm also going to zoom in. It makes it easier for me to work on specific sections. In the directions, I also said, if you have specific areas that are different, as you can see like here, this is a part of the petal that's in shadow, so it's a different color. You're going to want to work in those specific areas first, or even right here. Make my brush size smaller. You can see that this part is in shadow, but then it starts blending in with the part that's in highlight. So you want to work in these small sections, try to find all of the same color sections and do those all together, and then move on to another color section. I'm going to start right here on my flower. I'm going to increase my brush size a little bit. And then I'm going to start making crisscross patterns. So my mouse is going to literally go like an X or like a tic-tac-toe board. I'm going to click back and forth, and this is what creates that painterly effect. I'm not going to go too crazy and do it forever. I just want to show you a small section before I finish. If you did see that I accidentally picked a little bit of the white out there, if you push back with your pink over here, it's fine. It'll make it go away. Frequently, I want you to go through and check to see how you're doing. I'm going to turn the visibility off. Right now, mine's looking pretty good. Oftentimes, what will happen, though, is that you will get some space in between where your outline was and the flower is. So now when I turn it off, you can see there's a little bit of a space right there. Not much. I've been doing this for quite some time, so that helps. But you want to make sure, I'll try to mess up here so you can see. All right. You want to make sure there, you see that space in between the outline and what I'm filling in with? You want to make sure that you get those spaces. The reason why is that when you guys are all finished with this, you are going to find a color that you like for the background. So say that I am finished. My whole flower is completely painted in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm going to fill this layer in with a color. So I'm going to grab my paint bucket tool, which is hiding underneath my gradient. I'm going to click on my foreground color, and then I'm going to start scrolling through and trying to find a color that I think looks nice. I think this might look really pretty with it. And then I'm going to click on the background. Well, you wouldn't see the inside of my flower, but you get the point, because my whole flower is not colored in right now. But I want to make sure that the color of my flower goes nicely with the background color. All right, the rest of this, I'm going to take that away because we don't need it for now. The rest of it is just over and over again, filling in all of the portions of your flower. If you get to a point where like you're working on your pink and you're finished with your pink and you want to go start on your stem, if you do not hold down Option to pick up that color, oftentimes it's going to take this pink and it's going to try to mix it in with your green. So if you notice when I hold Option down, it creates kind of this like bullseye. That's picking up the color of what's underneath it. So if I click on that, now I can start filling in with the green, and it will not mix with that pink. So I turn that off. Oh, helps if I was on the right layer. I did what you guys aren't supposed to do, remember? I just started painting on layer 1. Now I've got to go back here and finish painting that in. So now when I turn it off, you'll see the green that's underneath it. All right, again, like I said, tedious, but I'm going to show you guys some examples in class of finished flowers for these, and I really want you to see that they can be some of the most amazing pieces in your portfolio, and they show resilience and perseverance in being able to go through something tedious like this and from start to finish and end up with a great product. Okay, and that's it.